Yes, welcome Vivian Kunz, a professional realtor by trade. She's been with the Fathom Realty Orem office and has over 20 years of residential real estate experience, 15 years here in Sanpete County. Vivian has a well-defined professional identity as a rural residential realtor. She focuses on intuitive listening, effective questioning, and visualizing her clients' dreams, which demonstrates her dedication to understanding their needs and aspirations. She emphasizes hard work and a servant heart in making those dreams a reality, which speaks to her commitment to her clients' best interests. Overall, Vivian is a realtor who is not only knowledgeable and skilled, but also deeply committed to providing positive and lasting relationships with clients. So please welcome Vivian Kunz.
Well, I am pleased to be here. I just have a question because that intro he gave, not about me, but before all the things you're doing in your class, how many of you own a business of your own right now? Can I see a raise of hands? That is awesome. I'm so impressed. Well, as you can see, I'm a realtor, and being a realtor means you're a shameless self-promoter. That's why this is up. If people say you can't be a secret agent, and that is true. Nobody can find you if you're secret, and you don't make any money if they don't find you. So it's important that you are. I want to tell you a little bit about my journey here. When I was 17, 18 years old, the only thing I wanted to be was a wife and mother. My whole dream was to get an MRS degree. You know what that is? Mrs. with the ring? Yeah, that was my idea of the future. Now, 50 years later, I have a totally different idea of what that 18-year-old should have been focusing on. And I did meet my husband 29 years ago, and he's still the love of my life, and he's also my business partner. So I want to tell you a little bit about this journey. In 2004, we had just bought a house, and we had just adopted our last child. And well, she's not really our last child, but she's the youngest child because we adopted a 15-year-old after that. But we had just bought this house, and I thought everything was right in the world. I was able for 8 years to stay home with my children and be the mother I wanted to be. Then life turned us a curveball, and my husband was injured. He injured his back and had to have major surgery. He no longer could provide for us the way he had been. He was a commercial master plumber, and he was making good money, and we both loved our traditional roles, but they switched in an instant. And all of a sudden now, I was responsible for a large family and my husband in his recovery. So I had been an executive secretary for many years prior to staying at home. So I thought I'd go back into that field. I went out and during that decade found that I couldn't compete in that market anymore. So my cheese was moved. And so I had to do something. I needed money fast. And I didn't quite know what to do, but I do have one core belief that I live by, and that is each of us are personally responsible for our own lives, and we can't depend on others to make our success. So I started assessing my assets. What could I do? What were my options? And I had just purchased this house, and in the purchasing of the house, I had to get very proactive. We had very limited funds. Our lending was very stringent, and so I got very involved in the process. And so I thought, oh, I really like that. That was a challenge. Let's go in and assess that. So I looked into lending, I looked into title, and I looked into real estate as an agent. And I decided on real estate as an agent. And I became a realtor for 3 reasons. 1, I could do it fast. Number 2, I could make more money. And number 3, I could have my time flexible. And all of those things were very important to me. So I went into what's called the fast track, which means you do the impossible. Okay, that means in 2 weeks you get all of your classwork done and you pass your state exam, which I accomplished. Now they don't tell you whether you got 100% or 70%. They just tell you you passed. Now, I know I got 100%. They didn't tell me, but I know it. So I always say that, but the truth is I passed the first time. Now I had the ability to get my license. I paid for it. And then now I'm a realtor. Now what? How do I do it? So what happens is you go to the coursework that gets you your license, and it teaches you the law. You're working within a parameter of law that the state allows. It's very narrow, and it's specific to the things you need to do for your clients. And you need to know that stuff, but they don't teach you anything in that class except maybe how much is a square mile. That's about the only thing you could use in real estate in the class. So where you get your practical information is on the job training, which was a shock to me. I thought I could hit the ground running and so forth. So I get in there, and the first thing that you need to do is pick a realtor. Not a realtor, a broker. So let me move forward here to the challenges of real estate. There are 4 very main challenges to real estate. Now, you could call them a challenge, or you could call them an opportunity. It depends on your personality. So the first one is your mindset. Do you have an entrepreneurial mindset, or do you have an employee mindset? It is really critical to know what it is and quickly change it if you have an employee mindset, because you're owning your business. You don't have a job anymore. And so things change. Statistics show that 20% of the realtors make all the money. Did you know that? That's kind of hard to believe, isn't it? But it's true. Cream rises to the top, and so do realtors. So the top quartile, or the top 25% of all realtors, are making all the money. 80% of realtors who get into the business, their businesses are closed, their doors are closed within 7 years. Those are pretty harsh statistics. And I had made a commitment to myself that my family depended on me and that I wasn't going to be a statistic. So what makes the difference? What makes the difference between a 25%er and someone below 25% that gets out of the business? What makes the difference? I truly believe it's your mindset. Can you wrap around something different? There's security in a job, but it won't get you where you want to go. We all have dreams inside of us, and a job often holds us back. It gives us a set hourly rate or a set salary, and it gives us hours that we have to be there, and it gives us requirements for the job, and you get to go to the potty room when they say you can go to the potty room, and all of those things are part of a job. Now, I'm not disparaging a job. I firmly believe that anybody that gives me money, they're my clients, whether they are my employer or whether I have contractually made an agreement that they pay me a percentage. Everyone is my client. And I just choose my hours and what I'm going to do with my hours. So have I worked for other people? You bet. I've used their money and their time, but I do not get rich off of that. The true wealth, the gold that I say, I call myself a gold digger. So the true wealth is when you create it, okay? And that takes drive, commitment, holding your own emotions inside. You know, when your mortgage payments due and your car payments due and your kids need something for school, it's really hard to say your needs come first, whatever it is. Oh, this isn't the right house for you, great. We'll go look at 3 more. You know, couldn't you have bought that one? You know, you have to control your emotions. And so I firmly believe that the mindset controls everything. It will make or break you, whether you have a small business that some of you have already, or whether you are going into some kind of entrepreneurial endeavor that has the potential to triple or quadruple your income. Okay, there's a reason only 25% make the most money. It's hard. It is not easy to keep your mindset in place. It is the hardest thing I have had to do. And I will honestly say, sometimes I don't do it so good. Sometimes I want to pull the cover over my head and say, oh, today is just too tough. But that's not where the money is. And so we control that. The next one is pride. I'm a shameless self-promoter. But you know what? Sometimes that's a downfall. Pride goeth before the fall, they say. So if you get too prideful and, oh, I'm all that in a paper hat, then people feel it. They can sense it. You're not working in their best interest, you're working in your own. The only way to work in real estate is for other people first, you second. That's the only way it will work, because people will sense it and they'll go to someone who can give them the full attention that they deserve. So Zig Ziglar has a quote that I love, and I use it all the time. In fact, I had to Google it to find out who had said it, because I've quoted it so many times, I think it's only my own words. But he said, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. But I changed it around. I said, if you will just help enough other people get what they want, Vivian, you can get anything you want. Now that's the attitude you have to keep succeeding day after day after. Again, we talked about the employee mindset, straight commission or guaranteed paycheck, straight commission, guaranteed paycheck. There's a parable called the wood stove parable. And it says, you get as much heat in proportion to how much wood you load it with. Don't expect the heat until you have loaded it well. Now, I've lived off grid for 15 years with wood heat. This means something to me, this parable does. I just don't turn on a switch. You get warmed twice. You cut it and then you bring it in and you get warmed again. So, but it works in human beings too. The other thing that is hard is keeping a creative mindset. We're all creative in one way or another, but we have to feed the beast. If you don't put something in, nothing will come out creative. You'll just be parroting what everybody else says. Your clients will expect you to find solutions, to show up, and to go the extra mile. And the only way you can do that and give them what they want is to put stuff into your mind to where when you're in that unique situation, you will have that come forward and you will have a creative idea. For me, it's in negotiation, or it's in writing an offer, or it's finding the win-win between clients. It's really important that I am a full vessel and not a half-full vessel. So I read a lot. If you don't read, start reading. There's no way around it. Just start reading. Work on yourself first, and then learn all you can about the business you're in. For me, it's real estate, so I read lots of books. How does that equate to me? In the beginning, I told you my husband the income stopped like that. And so we didn't have much money. I didn't have gas money. I had a client, buyer, I'm going to take him out. I'm going to see 4 homes, but I had no gas money. It was clean across town. I was in the Salt Lake Valley from the west side all the way to the north of Salt Lake. I had to take a vehicle. And so I drove there with enough gas to get me there, no way to get home. I didn't know how I was going to get there. So I parked around the corner, knowing it was probably going to stay there to the duration. And I walked to the house that I was going to show first, smile on my face, just like I did when I walked in here. Believe me, that walk over from Grits is a long one. So I don't know how you guys do it. But anyway, so I sat there. I convinced my client that I would be best for me to ride in their car because they had 2 little kids and 2 car seats. And it was simple. I could squish in between the 2 car seats, no problem. Oh, it was tough. But anyway, I did it. We showed the 4 houses. They dropped me back off where they thought my car was. It was around the corner because it was a dive and I didn't want them to see it. And so they dropped me off and I said, okay, Vivian, now what? Now what? And of course, I truly believe that heaven helps me a lot. I saw a gas station. I thought, I'm going to go over there and talk to the owner. So I went over there and I said, look, I'm in a situation. I'm a realtor. I'm stuck. I can't get home. Will you take a post-dated check for the gas and fill my tank? I promise I'll give you my business card and you can call my broker if it doesn't clear. And he said, I don't do this for anybody, but for you, I'll do it. And he filled my tank and I was able to get home. There were other times I had to take the bus. It is possible to do things when you have nothing. I have done it and I've succeeded. The other thing was it usually takes 6 months to get a sale in real estate. There's a reason for that. Priming the pump have you ever primed a pump? How many of you have been on a pump that you have to prime? It takes a while to get that water going, doesn't it? And then all of a sudden it flows and it just keeps flowing. It's easy then. But getting it to flow, you have to really manually push that pump. Well, it's the same thing with prospecting and building a clientele. So as soon as I got my business up and running and the clients were coming in, then I was getting referral business and things went faster. But in the beginning, I called 5 hours straight every day of the week, 5 days a week. And I did it for 2 months. I called from the phone book. I know some of you probably don't know what a phone book is, but it had residential listings in there and you could call anyone in the area. So I just went from A down and I just called everybody and said, do you know of anybody thinking about buying or selling real estate? Because I'm looking for work. That's what I said. Simple, over and over and over again. I had realtors in the brokerage come up to me and say, oh, Vivian, you're new. We're happy to help you, small percentage for helping you. And I said, oh, that's really lovely of you. Thank you so much. I'll keep that in mind. And back to my calls. My trainer came out of his office. He said, Vivian, come into my office, please. I said, okay, what have I done? And I went in and he said, Vivian, don't listen to any of those yahoos. They only want your money. You are doing what every one of them should be doing, and I want you to continue doing what you're doing. So I did. My first sale came from calling the phone book. And it was 2 brothers who needed a home. So tenacity, stick-to-itiveness, think positive. Don't let the little old lady in the back of your head tell you what to do, because she just wants you to sit down so she doesn't have to do any work. So listen to the progressive ideas in your mind. I can do this. I can make a success of this. I will be able to get some gold. What does the gold mean to you? For me, as a woman, gold means something different to me than many men. I have learned over time, I know I'm going to get backlash, but men and women are different. There is a mindset in men that their identity is tied up in what they earn, what they make, what they can do. I think some of you young men can probably relate to that feeling. In a woman, it's more about our families, our connections, what we can do with money, not so much the dollars. It doesn't mean anything. If I made $13,000 this week, I'd say, oh, what can I do with it? I wouldn't be saying, yeah, I made $13,000, because the dollar signs mean nothing to me. But if I can equate it to something, then I am successful. One of those somethings were when I was, about 5 years into my career, I had a trainer who was really good. And he called me into his office because I had said, I want to make more money. He says, okay, come on in, let's figure it out. So he says, what do you want? I said, I want to make more money. And he said, why? And I said, no, I really want to make more money. I need to pay my bills. Why? And I said, because I need it. And he says, Vivian, what do you really want? And I said, well, my daughter just moved to Scotland. I'd love to go to Scotland. I've never been there. I've never been outside of the West. I'd love to go to Scotland, but I can't go. And he said, why can't you go? And I said, I can't go because my children, I have 12 of them. And I said, if I go and I die en route, they're motherless. I can't go unless I take them all, and that's just way too expensive. It'd probably take $10,000 or more to go. And he said, why can't you go? Let me show you how. And he showed me how. I walked out of that room knowing I was going to Scotland. Within a week, I had all of our passports. That was September, 1st of September, school was starting. I told my family, we're going to Scotland, all of us are going. And these were all the ones that were still at home. The ones that had grown, I told them they had to pay their way, they could come if they could pay. And they didn't come, so they missed out. So all of the minor children went, and in January we went, got there, and it was first night. If you know anything about Scotland, that's their New Year's Eve. And it was amazing. It was an amazing trip. And it did cost me over $10,000. And I was so excited. But here's the rub. Here's the rub. I had this amazing goal. I met it. I was so excited. Then boom, I had no more goals. I had that one amazing goal and it went away. Then what do I do? Oh, now what do I do? Maybe I should go back to the trainer. No, he'll just tell me I'm an idiot. So I realized something very valuable. You can't just make one goal and meet it. You'll be so disappointed in yourself because you won't be prepared for the next one. If you have one goal, you wait, make another goal. This is where you will do your business. If you have multiple goals with different timelines on them, then you bounce off the top of successes. And then you never get that low. So that is one of the things I learned. I hope that helps. Time management is huge. I'm bouncing around, I'm sorry. Time management, super, super important. Everything I do is an appointment. Today, I had you as an appointment, okay? If I take my daughter shopping, it's an appointment. If I have to go to the doctor's, it's an appointment. They call it an appointment. If I have money-generating appointments, prospecting, buyer-seller appointments, anything that generates money, showing houses, or walking up and down a mountain with somebody, all of that is an appointment. But everything in my life's an appointment. So what I do, I schedule my family business first, because if I don't, my business will take over, have a mind of its own, and I'll never have time with my family. Then I schedule all of my money-making appointments. I put it in bright green because that's cash color. And that I know cannot be changed, period, end of statement. Then everything else filters into the places that are available. That could be working on my business. Instead of in my business, I'm working on my business. Maybe I'm working on accounting. Maybe I'm working on a system, a new buyer system or a new seller system or a buyer class, or maybe I'm working on videos to promote myself. Maybe I'm just learning. It's my time to read my book. All of that has to be scheduled in around it. This is a business that's extremely lucrative. And how much you make is all about you. People ask me all the time, how much can a realtor make? How much do you want to make? That's what I tell them. Because the truth of the matter is you can figure that out. In your handouts, do you have them? Look at the second page. So in your handout, you'll notice there's some hen scratching on that, and I've got to get mine out here. So on that hen scratching, this is so valuable. I didn't learn this immediately, but this could be applied to any business that requires appointments, but this is a real estate model. You'll find this in The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Keller Williams. So at the top is how much I want to gross. I want to gross that much. Okay, so then I have to figure out what my expenses are, and then I know what my net's going to be. Then I have to figure out how I'm going to get that net. And it filters down. Now, there's two things you'll notice on this. This was generated in 2007. You probably were all in young grades, I'm sure. But in 2007, I did this in a class. And so I used the class model. You notice that the average sales price is $187,000. You're lucky if you can find a house for that price now. The average sale price now is almost double that. So these numbers are way off. The numbers for 2023 and 2024 will be quite a different thing. But you notice that you figure out what you want, then you know what the expenses are. And when you get down here to the net, you know whether or not I wanted $300,000, but maybe I really needed $450,000 because of my expenses, marketing expenses and such. Then if you notice to the bottom of that sheet, there's a little handwritten note, 1 appointment per day. Did you notice that? I know what I have to do. I don't have to remember all the numbers. All I have to do is what it says right there, because I know how much I make per sale, and I know if I do an average of so many, and some of them are buyers and some of them are sellers, that I'm going to make everything I need with my number crunching if I just make one appointment per day. I like things simple. You know, the KISS principle, because sometimes it's easier just think of the one thing that's most important, and you'll find that as one of the books I'm going to recommend for reading. Then we go to here. My successes have been often I'm in the top quartile. Now, am I always in the top quartile? No, no. I have been up there a lot. And it's because I'm hungry for the things money can buy. I'm hungry for the security it can provide my family. I'm hungry for the benefits I can provide my teenagers. Now my youngest is 20, and now it's about helping her with the first leg of her life. And I've always had this dream. So my big why has changed. My first big why was I just want my family to survive. I wanted them to eat. I wanted a roof over their head. I didn't want us to be homeless. I could see it all coming if I didn't change something. But my big why now is something totally different. I had a big why years ago, and I wrote it down. It was probably 4 pages long, and it encompassed buying a property and having multiple houses on the property and having my business run on the property. I get emotional when I think about this. And each of my children would own one of those homes, and I would have grandkids close, and we would have great big gatherings. They would have their autonomy, and I would have them close. And it was such a big why for me that I can still feel the emotion of this big why. I painted the house in my mind. I knew exactly what the kitchen and the office, they were right next to each other because that's where I'm going to be, in the office or the kitchen. It is 2023. That goal was set over 10 years ago. And we are now setting a home on 3 parcels that my son is building and my daughter is building. It's a mini version of what I put on those 4 pages. It can happen. Write it down. Put it away. Don't think about it. Your subconscious mind knows. It knows, and it will help you. And also, I believe in heaven, so you can make sure that you ask for the things you need. I love helping. 5 minutes? Oh, then we need questions, don't we? Oh, 10 minutes, 2 questions, or 10 minutes and then? Okay, well then, learning the mechanics of real estate is simple. And if anybody is really interested in this field, which I think is a great option for people, I can help you afterwards. You can answer all of those questions. But if you have any questions about what I'm talking about as far as how entrepreneurship can happen in real estate or in your personal life, I'd be happy to answer them right now. Anybody yes? I'm going to tell you my version, okay? It's not possible. So here's what I think. I'm an overachiever. I am also very high strung, and everything has to be perfect in my life. And so I just had to come to the realization that nothing was going to be perfect. My kids were not going to be perfect. I wasn't going to be perfect at work or at home. We were just going to love each other and get through everything we could for all the right reasons. And that made all the difference. It did mean sometimes that I had to work real hard. Like when I went through the fast track 2 weeks, I would be in classes till 5, come home. I had to cook for a very large family. I have 12 children, so you can imagine. And that's laundry. And my husband was recovering, and I'm not going to, he just needed a lot of care. And so I'd come home and take care of all of that. And then when they were all taken care of, I would work till midnight, 1 o'clock on my studies. And it took a lot to pass that exam in 2 weeks. So everything I learned in the day, I was solidifying in my studies at night and doing the extracurricular that they required for the class. I don't know how I managed to make it, but I did. I think you can do things. It's over. And now my husband says, because he had to do it a year later, and he told me, he says, I should have been kinder. Because he went through it. He didn't take 2 weeks, he took longer. So, any other questions? Anybody else? That's a good question. How much money do I want to make? That is where it has. If I sell one, this year has been tougher, and I'll tell you why. We've had some changes in the market. The interest rates went up. That changes everything. You buy a house, if your interest rate goes up, you have less buying power because you've got to pay more interest. If you have less interest, you can buy more house, and so you can get a lot more for your money. Well, we had a shift come in the first part, September of last year. And this is the first time I've gone through several swings and shifts in the market, and you just ride them and get through them. But this one's been a little different. I think people are a little bit leery. Do I spend my money? Do I wait? Is it going to be better? Is it going to be worse? They don't know. And they're nervous about the economy. They're nervous about the government. They're nervous about a lot of things, which equates to whether or not they'll buy a house. So I had several listings. They all have lingered, but now the market is picking up. So I've had one sale this year, so that hurts. But last year, I had over 20. Now, I personally prefer to have 40. That's my end-all, cure-all. Then I could do whatever I wanted to, and I like to do lots of things. So it's all about what you want to make. But you do have to, as the market switches, you have to be prepared. Now, when I got my check for that one, it was substantial. And it made up the difference of all those months not having income if I were living frugally. Does that make sense? Now, if the market were high and I were making one of those a week or one of those every other week, I would have been sailing in easy street. But this year has been a little tougher. Fortunately, I'm prepared for that. I've been in the market a long time, so I'm prepared for the ebbs and flows of it. And I also have a team member, so I do most of the work, but he helps. He actually works here at Snow College. You might see him. He's in the maintenance department. He's a plumber, so he's gone back into that, but he also is a licensed realtor and works alongside with me. Any other questions? I think we're probably coming pretty close to 10 minutes, aren't we? 5 minutes? You have another one? Yes. I have two methods that I do because real estate money comes in waves. So you might have a period of time where you don't have income coming in, but then all of a sudden you have several close at once. And so you make up the difference. So I do have an account that I can use for expenses. And then when the closings come, I pay back that expense. And then I go from there. Also, I do have a husband that has a day job. So that does help me and allows me to have some freedom. But at the same time, if I were working in Salt Lake, there would be much more fish to fry. More homes, more people selling homes. All you have to do is look at how many homes are on the market in Sanpete County versus how many are on the market in Salt Lake. And you will see the difference in the fish you can fry up and eat. We used to say, my husband and I, when we were looking for people to work with, we'd say, it's like two vultures sitting on a telephone wire and they're looking down and they say, dang it, I'm gonna kill something and eat it. So the truth is that you have to be aggressive and to get your income. But for me, it's never been a steady. It's always been feast and a little bit of famine, feast and a little bit of famine. And now that can change depending on circumstance. I prefer to work in Sanpete County, so I work within the parameter that there are fewer homes. So, but I am licensed in the state of Utah. If you have a friend or a relative, please give me a call. Okay, anybody else? Okay, yes.
You mentioned on your paper you have to plan for retirement.
Oh, yes. Sure, we talked too much. Yes, retirement. Real estate is you're running your own business. If you have a retirement, it's because you made it. So a lot of realtors will use investments, rentals, or flipping as a means for their retirement. They either flip it early and or get that investment in early and they bank it, or they use it as a means of income down the road. The other thing is to create your own retirement program and then pay into it. Anybody else? I'm so sorry. Very good question, because money's not my highest priority. My highest priority is my lifestyle. And I love Sanpete County. It reminds me of where I grew up in Bakersfield, California. Now, Bakersfield, I mean, California at all is not like it used to be, but it was a rural community. And if I drive down 89, it feels like I'm driving down the main street in Bakersfield. We used to live in a place called Green Acres, believe it or not. And I grew up there, it felt good, and Sanpete County feels good. I felt it was a good place to raise my children, and it just fits my personality. Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you so very much for allowing me to share this hour with you. I am so pleased that there are so many people interested in entrepreneurship. I really am amazed and encouraged for the future.